More troubling questions about Melanie Gibb. Is this narcissistic abuse? If you'd like to support me on Patreon, I'd be delighted to have you. Your support will help keep the content fresh and always evolving. Thanks again for your support. After Art's out. One of my viewers, Stella F., brought up some excellent points about Melanie Gibb. These were creepy, but they didn't seem to her to be effects of narcissistic abuse. So I will address these points as best as I can. Melanie Gibb has evidenced a disconcerting lack of concern about J.J. and Tylee. Attorney Pryor even grilled her about her ambivalent relationship, if there was any relationship at all, with Tylee. This apparent lack of empathy stands in stark contrast to her strong and enduring bond with Lori and Chad. In my opinion, and everything I say on this channel is merely my opinion based on my experience, when you're enmeshed with a narcissist, your thoughts and feelings become subservient to theirs. You lose yourself in the relationship. Enmeshment with a narcissist is codependence, and you'll find yourself continually taking care of their feelings. As a flying monkey, Melanie's role was to provide Lori with narcissistic supply. In other words, Melanie's role was to give Lori her energy to prop up her grandiose schemes and plans. For the narcissist, the world is one big conspiracy of Byzantine dimensions, and you are either with them or against them. Narcissists are masterful brainwashers, and they literally train their codependents. Their flying monkeys rally around them, acting as their surrogates. We can see clearly how Melanie Pawlowski acted like a Lori mini-me. Of course, this is just speculative, but Melanie Gibb was quite likely a Lori mini-me as well, before she broke ranks and joined up with law enforcement. One individual who is not a Lori mini-me was Tylee. Her joke at the police station about Lori getting a padded room spoke volumes. It's funny because it's true. And her protective stance towards J.J., could this have been an unspoken commentary on Lori's maternal performance or lack of? Did Tylee feel compelled to step in and provide the love, concern, and nurturing that would have otherwise been missing from his life? If Tylee and Lori had an ambivalent relationship, and Melanie was present as Lori's best friend and flying monkey, wouldn't Tylee view Melanie as an extension of her mother, propping Lori up, enabling her in her grandiosity, the two of them enmeshed and allied? I don't see how realistically a friendship between Tylee and Melanie Gibb could have formed. And J.J., as cute as he was autistic and by all accounts had difficulty connecting with others in general. My guess, and this is just a guess, I don't know these people and I wasn't there, Melanie Gibb was as close to the kids as Lori would have wanted her to be. Melanie Gibb got as close to the kids as Lori would have wanted her to. Taking into consideration Melanie's overall support for Lori and Chad and her participation in all things important to them, if the kids had been any kind of priority at all, Melanie Gibb would have mirrored this, at least to some extent. When questioned about Tylee not being home in Rexford during Melanie and David's September visit, Melanie said Lori didn't talk about Tylee at all. She didn't say it was odd or unusual that Tylee never entered their discussion that entire weekend. After all, most parents blather on ad nauseum about their kids, especially if they'd gotten into a good school like BYU. So it would seem the lack of attention given Tylee here was not unusual, Compare and contrast this to Lori going on and on about J.J. and his supposed zombie-like behavior, which apparently registered a slight blip of cognitive dissonance, perhaps only because, according to Melanie, his behavior was the same as she was accustomed to. So, in my opinion, it would appear that in Lori's relationship with Melanie Gibb, the kids were compartmentalized, and Melanie had long become accustomed to their very peripheral role. Therefore, again, in my humble opinion, Melanie's shocking lack of empathy for the kids actually serves as a reflection of Lori's true feelings toward them. And what do you expect her true feelings were in light of their fate? You know, people often have funny and inappropriate ways of grieving. Perhaps Melanie Gibb shows no emotion or nervous smiles because she is repressing emotion. Perhaps with everything else she is burdened by, it's intolerable to face what happened to the kids. Some of us are bigger containers than others. Perhaps Melanie feels the pain of opportunities missed. Perhaps she feels the remorse of not having done more. The reality of their fate is horrifying, and I would imagine that it might be too raw and brutal for Melanie to confront for now. Now, is Melanie Gibb an opportunist? Melanie was already a writer and a teacher of sorts, so trying to make some lemonade from this basket of sour lemons was a natural step, even something incumbent upon her. Regardless of how cringy her efforts might come off, it actually wouldn't make sense for her not to. It is part of the teacher path and mindset to process one's life experience in a desire to share whatever glimmers of wisdom one has attained. Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to go through what I went through. Certainly, by the time she is done processing her experience, she will have some very deep and profound life lessons to share. Maybe I'm just projecting because this is what I try to do in my work here on this channel, where in turn, I am using her story to illustrate the patterns and red flags of narcissistic abuse. As far as doing the interviews, considering how close she was to the major players in what might be the true crime story of the year, there has been enormous interest in seeing and hearing from her. The story is huge, and I have never had so much traffic on my little channel until I started covering it. You could say Melanie Gibb is an opportunist, but then so is everyone else weighing in on the story. Consider how much pressure is on Melanie Gibb to tell us what she knows. And we all know how cutthroat and sensational the media is. If it bleeds, it leads. Reporters sticking a microphone in the face of a grieving parent, or someone who's just lost their house in a fire, or a business owner who lost everything to rioters and looters. The pressure on Melanie Gibb to get on camera and spill all would have had to have been immense. I'm sure she felt safe talking to Nate Eaton from East Idaho News. As a fellow Mormon, they could speak the same language, and she could at least be comfortable with his relatively softball questions. And in closing, I think we can all agree that Melanie Gibb could benefit from counseling because she's been through a horrible ordeal. So that's all I have to say for today. Feel free to comment and let me know if you have any insights or questions, things you'd like me to discuss in future videos. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please share and take care of yourselves. After Arts out.